If you can hear construction, it's because there's construction, so I can't really do anything about that. How to go from a front-end developer to a full-stack developer in the UK. My name is Isaac, previous CTO of a funded startup, and I ran the checkout team at Pretty Little Thing. I received this question personally after putting up some of my content. I believe it was how to become a front-end developer. There will be a link somewhere if it's useful to you guys. And I was actually really happy when I got this request. So if this is actually reflective of what a lot of people think, I am very happy because it's a very simple answer and I'm happy I can be of assistance in this area. The easiest possible way to learn backend is to work as a front-end developer. Now, I know that sounds stupid, but realistically, the most difficult thing about becoming a backend developer is the experience on larger systems. And it's a chicken and egg situation because until you have experience on larger systems, how are you going to get hired to work on larger systems? Being a front-end is perfect because you get to cross-skill within teams. I always do say cross-skilling is one of the easiest ways to skill up, and it's so true, mostly because of the framework and infrastructure that you will have around you. Working at any company that has a degree of backend competency, you are literally being given the playbook because they are functionally using this stack, right? So you can see the technology that they're using, the frameworks that they're using, you know they're using the real world because they're actually doing it, and you get hands-on experience with a pre-built system. It's actually perfect. Now, you might be thinking in theory, oh, I could learn faster if I learned to code on my own, which is potentially true, and not having to do front-end work and then side cross-skill to backend. But if you think about it, if you're working in a team, you arguably have mentors because they're telling you what you can and can't do. You have functional frameworks that they're already using in the real world, so all of your experience is actually useful. And if you go to interviews and they say, oh, what's your experience with this? You can say, I implemented this for this company and these were the problems. And that is never something you will get on your own. And thirdly, you're getting paid to do it. Like, it's actually a no-brainer. Yes, it does take a little bit longer, but for what you gain in the experience, especially on the size of projects, because every time you do a personal project, maybe for experience, it's never going to get to the size that you really have problems with weird Git commits that you have to revert out, and it's a massive thing that blocks everyone, and pipelines. And it's not that these are good things, but they are things that occur, and the more experience you have with these, the better you are as a backend developer, and you only get this experience working with larger teams. So in theory, there's two possible angles you could be in when asking this question. You are either employed as a front-end developer and want to learn backend, or you're unemployed as a front-end developer and want to learn backend. Either way, the only real thing I would suggest at this point is to get a job that has a good balance of front end and back end. The two interact quite nicely. Very often when you are working on a project, the front end works directly with the back end, so cross-skilling is a lot easier because you're actually working on the same problems from different perspectives. Employers really do benefit from you being skilled in both. You know, what project manager wouldn't want everyone cross-skilled on everything else? It genuinely is mutually beneficial. It's a win-win for everyone. The only potential reason they wouldn't want you to do it is because there's so much front end work. They need you to stay on the front end. But that being said, you learning in your free time, or once you've done with the front end work, doing some of the back end work, happy days. In theory, if you are at a company where you're working as a front end developer and there's not really any back end work, maybe because it's a small agency, more visual based stuff, you would want to transition to a company with a competent back end. Or if you're unemployed, you need to do this step. The ideal way to really probe this out of a company when going through an interview process is ask them what their back end structure is. And honestly, you should probably just go with whichever company sounds like they have the most complicated architecture. Also, a strong division between the teams and the departments that they work in. So if there's a team that handles orders, there's a team that handles checkouts. Like, the more divisive it is, actually, the better, because that's normally brought out of necessity. So either they're at such a size or scale that needs to be done, or they demand that degree of efficiency. But either way, it shows a time-worn team. And then once you're in there, the advice would be just dive straight in. So like I said, you already have a big code base that you can work off. If you're a front-end developer, it means you already have some degree of code competency. Literally just look at the code that's already there. Instead of learning the theory, it's nicer to actually have a real-world example where you can jump hands-on with the frameworks. I'm not saying change all that code, that's not what I'm saying, but you can get their repos, you can look at their code, you can look at their PRs, look at the comments people are making, what are the problems that they have, what kind of bugs arise. Just familiarize yourself with the framework specifically. Okay, so now we've assessed that the best place to learn a back-end role is in a company that has both front-end and back-end as a front-end developer. How can you put yourself in a position where you do more back-end work? Probably the most crucial thing is pushing to be on a team that has a good division between the two. As I mentioned before, teams that split based on roles, so you might have like an order team, a checkout team. You want a team that is tightly integrated back-end and front-end developers on a particular problem. The benefit of this is you get to work directly on these problems. You just happen to be tackling them from different angles, such as front-end and back-end. And if you ask a back-end developer, hey, can I shadow you? There's something I don't really get. They're more likely to say yes than if you ask a back-end person in a different team. You can speak to the lead of a project and basically say that you would like to cross-skill in back-ending. If they say that's not something they want you to do, a little bit of a red flag, because it's kind of beneficial for everyone. If that's the case, maybe they just have so much front-end work they don't want to consider it. Either way, a little bit concerning. Maybe consider looking into a different company, because fundamentally, if they don't want you to cross skill, it will be quite hard. If they show interest with you learning backend, fantastic. The best thing to do with this really is set up some kind of system whereby maybe after doing all of your front end work, you can start on back end work. Let's say there's 3 tickets in the sprint that need doing, and they're supposed to take to the end of the sprint, and you go, oh, if I finish these 3 tickets, can I start working on back end work? And they say yes. Great, just power through these front end tickets so you can get to the back end tickets. Excuse me. Or ask them if you can spend a day of the week learning it. You know, culturally, some places actually have days which are a lot more lax. So like Friday, maybe you start at 11 and finish at 3, something like that. Some offices do have that. If it's a case like that, ask them, hey, on Friday, can I actually work on back-end work or something like that? See if there's a give and take relationship that you can fit, or maybe like once every 2 weeks, a day that you can dedicate to learning it. Anything like that is beneficial to you. The more time you can take from your job hours going to back-end instead of front-end, the better. But even if not, using out of work time to learn the back-end, being a front-end developer is still one of the best places you can do it. Another thing you can do, take the pay cut, which sounds counterintuitive, but if you're doing the work of multiple people, such as front-end and back-end, you might think at some point, hey, I'm not being paid for my time. You need experience, man. Just get the experience. It's really not worth griping over the pay, because realistically, if you can work back end at this front end job and you become a full stack, I promise you, when you leave and go to your next role, you will be getting paid more than what you're getting paid currently, unless you take another pay cut because you want to work somewhere bigger. Like, you can't actually ask for more. But as soon as you make a bigger ask for more money, they have to start thinking, oh, okay, what am I getting out of you? And the power dynamic completely shifts, and they want more output instead of you having the chance to learn. As soon as you learn back end, you are full stack. The best thing you can really learn about these things is the nitty-gritty problems that happen with bigger teams that you can only observe hands-on. You know, if someone does a weird git commit and you have to revert everything out and cherry pick stuff, like weird problems like this where code just messes up, the architecture goes kapooey, these are brilliant things to learn and understand how people fix them, and it also shows you how they might potentially go wrong in the future. Learning best practices is good. It's actually better knowing why best practices are implemented, so you can optionally choose when and where it's a correct trade-off to use them. This video feels a little bit less structured. I did fire off the hit with this one just because I saw the comment and wanted to respond to it. Honestly, it's not terribly complicated. If this is your problem, you should be thanking your lucky stars, because it's one of the best places to be in where you're trying to learn backend. If you do have a more unique question about cross-skilling from front-end to back-end that I've not answered in this video, put it in the comments and I will answer. But hopefully this gives you a better idea of how to actually transition from this front-end to full-stack position. This is just my experience, but I do hope it was useful for someone out there. If you know someone who's currently struggling with this problem, please send them the video so they can make a more informed decision. Thanks, guys.